night. I'll just ask the council to come join me down here. We have a special proclamation this evening.
Sure.
So when we're lucky, we get to honor a special person in our community, and tonight is one of those nights. We had a special ceremony here today for a young man becoming an Eagle Scout, and Councilwoman Moore was fortunate enough to be here and join in the ceremony, so I asked her to acknowledge the proclamation.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, President Aramo. This afternoon, I had the opportunity and the honor of serving on the Eagle Scout Review Board. And this award, this review process was in reference to Justin Cornell. I'm going to ask Justin if he would come and stand with us as we celebrate him. I have to say that the interview process, the actual interview process was, all of his answers and responses were flawless. And the members of the review board were extremely impressed with his ability to really reveal all the knowledge that he's obtained as a result of this process. And so I just want to say a few things about Justin. Justin is an amazing 16-year-old. Not only is he a junior assistant scouting master, but he also assists students within our local community, students who actually have special needs. In addition, you're all aware of the fact that the Bus Stop Painting Project, which is a project which allowed for him to receive this next level of honor, he actually volunteered over 200 hours to make this project a success. And so today, when I had the opportunity to ask him several questions, one of the questions that I asked him, I said, what does leadership mean to you? And without hesitation, he said, and I quote, that leadership is not about being a boss. He said leadership, I quote once again, is not about giving others demands, but leadership is about helping and guiding others. And so tonight, Justin, you exemplify what true leadership means, because leadership is not about a title, but it's really about one life influencing another. And you have done that tonight. So on behalf of the City of Long Beach, on behalf of the council and all the members of the Long Beach community, we celebrate you tonight, and we are proud that you received your recognition as an Eagle Scout this afternoon. And once again, we say thank you. And so we congratulate you with this proclamation, and it reads, whereas the City of Long Beach wishes to recognize those who are committed to the betterment of the city and the lives of our residents, and whereas the City of Long Beach does desire to publicly acknowledge Justin Cornell in honor of his recognition by the Boy Scouts of America with their highest rank, Eagle Scout. And whereas the City of Long Beach also wishes to acknowledge Mr. Cornell's spirit of volunteerism, whereby for his Eagle Scout project, he directly supervised a team of volunteers who repainted the faded yellow paint on sidewalks and curbs in the West End Market, the location of bus stops. And now, and therefore, the City Council and the City Manager of the City of Long Beach, in recognition of his exemplary service to the community, proudly present this proclamation to Justin Cornell. Let's celebrate him this evening. It is a great achievement. We thank all of the council to come up and share this honor at this time. And as everyone is standing, I'd also like to take a moment to just recognize Justin's parents. If you would just come forward, because we once again celebrate you, because you raised such an amazing young man, and we're just proud of that achievement. The Scoutmaster is not here, but there are two key people that Justin just requested that he would like to stand with us. And one is Mr. Mike Delory, who was a part of the process. And Delory was pivotal in making sure that Justin has the opportunity to present here. And then secondly, Adam Bugatti from our auxiliary police officers, who once again is every best of the justice.
We're good, thank you very much.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the council of the city of Long Beach on Tuesday, July 17, 2018, at 7 p.m. Roll call. Councilmember Bendo. Councilmember Mandel.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Vice President Diamond.
Here.
President Obama.
Here.
Let the record indicate the presence of acting city manager Michael Taggy will have a salute to the flag.
Mr. Barrios, would you lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just take a moment. All right. Would you please give us the city manager's update?
As we're sure everyone is aware, real estate tax bills were mailed out to residents last week. Unfortunately, due to a technical software error from one of our external vendors, some owners received bills and they should not have. If you typically do not receive a bill from the city because the process is handled by your bank, the banks will still be, will have still and billed directly. We apologize for any inconvenience this has caused. I'm going to skip over the other program communities, they will be doing a presentation on their own. Thanks to the thousands of folks who attended the city's fireworks extravaganza earlier this month. We'd like to again give special thanks to Bethpage Federal Credit Union, whose generous sponsorship made the event possible. The city's annual Arctic Fest Festival was phenomenal as well, with more than 200 vendors. It was one of the most crowded fireworks shows I've seen in my entire career. The city recently launched the summer marketing advertising campaign on social media to help promote our local businesses and boost beach revenue. This campaign is performing very well with our commercials reaching more than 33,000 unique users thus far, with 94% of viewers choosing to watch the entire video. It's a tremendous percentage. And this is all done through social media. The city's free concert series is back in full swing, taking place, or canceled tonight, was the Arena Rock Tribute. Concerts take place 4 nights a week. Full movie schedule of concerts and locations. Visit longbeachny.gov/beach. In addition to our concerts, the Long Beach movie nights have been well attended this summer as well. Coming up this Saturday on Lincoln Beach at 8:15 will be Giovanni. 2, August features, include Weekend at Bernie's and Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Family Fun Park is underway on weekdays through the end of August. The rec is continuing to run its Family Fun in the Park program. Tomorrow will include an arts and crafts project at Magnolia Park. Thursday is a puppet show at the rec, and Friday is Bubbles Day at Park Street Park. The city is having a blood drive. Blood is urgently needed. Every kind of blood has the potential to save 3 lives. We'll be holding the blood drive on Wednesday, July 25th at the Ice Arena. The blood drive is open to all, and donations will be accepted between 2:30 and 8:30. Long Beach Fire Department is having a wing eating contest at Riptide on the Boardwalk on Saturday, July 28th. For details, visit longbeachfd.com. And finally, as a friendly reminder, lifeguards are on duty by the committee from 9 to 6, 7 days a week through September 3rd. Please remember that swimming is strictly prohibited when lifeguards are not on duty, and only swim your lifeguard. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our first item this evening is a public hearing for local law amending the charter of the city of Long Beach regarding Cold War veterans.
Okay, almost every community surrounding us has adopted this resolution. It gives a property tax discount of about $40 to Cold War veterans, which is anyone that served from September 2nd, 1945 to December 26th, 1991. Again, it's a well-earned benefit, I believe, for the veterans. That's why I propose it.
Any questions from the council?
Just a quick, the resolution says it would be up to 4,000, but do you think the average would be about $40?
Yes.
Anything else? Any questions or comments from the public on discount for Cold War veterans on the property taxes? Okay, seeing none, close the hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see, I'm sorry. Sorry, Ms. Wolozevich. Please just state your name and address for the record. Now, please come here 3 minutes.
I don't do my address. Why does it stop at 1991? I mean, we have had men in service right up until then, fighting wars. Why does it stop at 91?
This is state law. This is not something that the city can overrule. The state law has defined Cold War veterans for that period and has authorized a tax reduction.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Was there another hand? No? Okay, seeing no hands, I close the hearing.
Our second public hearing is for the purpose of providing all stakeholders with significant social, economic, and environmental interests and adequate opportunity to publicly present their views on an application for a special noise variance submitted by the Great Lakes Dredge and Dock Company LLC for the Long Beach Contract 2 for beach nourishment and crossover construction.
Okay, I believe there's a presentation by Great Lakes, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You did that, Jake?
I got behind you.
evening. My name is Stuart Hilgendorf. I'm project manager for Great Lakes for this Long Beach project. I just want to take about 5 to 10 minutes and explain what the project is to help you understand why we're looking for noise variance. The project itself includes Point Lookout all the way down to Long Beach. What we're planning on doing is starting up at New York Avenue and pump towards the west towards Ohio as our first order of work. That's designated by the gray up on this chart. The reason why we're doing Long Beach first is because of 2 reasons. One is there's a plover situation in Point Lookout, and also it extends all the way down to Pacific Boulevard, where they've noticed birds and they put a limit of 1,000 meters on us to getting close to their nest. So we're kind of limited to Long Beach Avenue. The second thing that has kind of limited us on choosing Long Beach to be done first is the borrow area that the Corps has given us. We have basically 2 borrow areas, one on the west side and one on the east side. The one on the west side has limited amount of quantity of material. We chose to pump that the shortest distance, which is over to Long Beach, but we only have enough to get the yellow, the red, and the gray areas to pump on Long Beach. And then we have to move over to the east borrow area and finish the rest of the job. So a little bit about the schedule. We are planning on doing the gray area. We started up on July 14th, which was Saturday. We will be pumping in the gray area about 20 days, which will take us to about August 3rd. At that time, we want to move to the yellow area, which is from Long Beach Boulevard to Magnolia Boulevard. That will take from August 4th to August 18th, which is about 15 days. Then we'll keep on going to the west and do the red area, which will be from August 19th to September 7th, and is from Magnolia to Grand Boulevard. We're estimating 20 days also on that. These are all estimates. It does vary depending on weather. We assume that we're going to be getting about 200 feet of travel per day on each section. So that means each growing area will be finishing up in about 4 days of time. We will only be blocking off about 1,000 feet of beach per setup. And as we move along, if we move 200 feet, the whole 1,000-foot section moves 200 feet of blocking off. So we will clear an area, basically a jetty area, within 4 or 5 days. It will be clear and you can use the beach. After we finish the red area, we will be switching over to the orange area. Basically, this is from Pacific Boulevard to Lincoln Boulevard. We plan on pumping in this area from September 8th through September 28th, which is about 20 days. And finally, we'll be doing the green area from September 29th to October 13th, which is 15 days. And that extends from Lincoln to Long Beach Boulevard. This project including Point Lookout and Lido Beach, is 4,125,000 cubic yards. That it's basically, the whole beach is 35,000 linear feet, which is about 6 nautical miles. The Long Beach portion, you'll be receiving 2,650,000 yards, which is about 63% of the total quantity. And that is spread out on 18,000 linear feet of beach, which is about 3 nautical miles. We do have some sand samples up here that we've taken from the discharge. There's been reports that it was very dark in color. Well, if you come up here and feel the sand, it is good quality sand. And that black color will change in about 2 weeks. It'll be bleached out as long as you have good sun. In about 2 weeks, it'll be bleached out to where you can't see the difference between the beach that's there now and the beach that we just pumped. We've done some things about the noise variance to eliminate some of the problems we've had in the past. We put a new beeper on the back of it. OSHA requirements require that you all have backup alarms on all our heavy equipment. But we've modified it and we put on basically a Twitter, as they call it, and it's more of a quieter noise and it's more directional. It only works right behind the equipment. So you won't be hearing it off to the side, off to the front, like you do on the old beeper type. We also will be limiting our equipment usage. We'll still be working the beach, but we're not going to be working right up against the bulkhead or boardwalk during the nighttime hours. We're going to be working more from about 200 feet off of the boardwalk out onto the water's edge at the nighttime. And we'll leave the boardwalk area for the daytime operations where we can work better. Basically, that's all I have. Got anything to add? We do have a short little video that is, what we've taken is a time-lapse pictures from our craft. We found another use for our little survey equipment out there. And it shows your beach and what we've done in about a 3-hour time span. You'll see the equipment working.
Want to talk everybody through it, Steve?
Yeah. Basically right here, you got 2 dozers working out in front. They're just dressing the beach, getting it ready for the pipeline. We're setting up a pipeline. We pump in 2 different areas so that we don't shut the dredge down. You'll see where we'll start pumping is where that very far dozer is working. And they're laying another line up forward so that we can pump ahead of the discharge of the first line while we're dressing it and getting it ready. Basically, you can see the operation right now. We are pumping water. It's starting to turn into a colored material. And they'll slowly work that material and fill it into the template. So we don't use a lot of the equipment. We mostly let the water and the dredge do most of the work. All they do for the dozers is just kind of guide that water and make the water do all the work. You'll see very little bit of dozer work. You know, they're just trying to guide the water. They put up some dikes to just contain it into the template area. But most of it is being filled just by the use of the dredge, and all they do is monitor it. That's all I got right now. Any questions? Yeah.
Schedule with the 24-hour day work.
Yeah, that would be with 24-hour days.
So it's not 24 hours. It's not on the schedule.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. It's about a half a mile offshore. That one photo was showing where the dredger was. Oh, we're digging in, depths of 35 to 40 foot of water. So we're beyond the effects of the beach. So. Yeah. It'll definitely help it for a while, and then I'm not saying what the new drawings are going to do. I mean, I haven't studied it, and so you will have where they contain the sand. They should be holding the sand for it, so that you should have more gradualness.
I have a question for you. Hi. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it, and it's exciting to see the work happening. So just to be clear, this is only for the pumping of the sand and the moving of the sand and not the ponds, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Piling will be restricted to 8 to 4.
And other than the dozers, as you call them, do you expect it to be very loud and actually break the threshold of that we have as an ordinance, or is this more of a, to just be careful?
Yeah, we've taken some readings as we work, and we're right around the 70 range, 75. It's not extremely loud.
Right.
And I would say the average is closer down to the 60s, 65, 60.
And can you just talk about what the implications are for not working 24 hours a day?
It would more than double the length of time that we're going to be out. Because the delays will be hit harder with, we work with offshore weather, and when the seas hit, we gotta be out there and try to get as much time as we can when the seas are favorable enough to work. And that's why we work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, just to take advantage of the weather that we can.
Any other questions by the council?
I just have one question for you. The timelines that you presented to us for each of the distinct areas that were colored on the chart, that's assuming that the ordinance is approved tonight, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, I had a question. Kind of switched up.
So hold on one second, sir, 1 second. Anyone else from the council? Any questions from the public? Sure, come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Thomas Fitzpatrick, Burlington Boulevard, Long Beach, New York.
Thank you.
So my question is, sir, you entered into this contract knowing that it would take a certain amount of time. And now it's going to be about 3 months. Is that correct? You entered into the contract
Yeah.
knowing that it would take approximately 3 months. And so now you want the noise variance to speed it up, right?
This contract was never 3 months, even not by,
Well, how long was it originally?
It was,
For this portion of the project, we have estimated about 90 days that you see on the schedule. And then, of course, the other side is another 60 days, 75 days or so. So typically, this kind of work is done 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And generally scheduled to be done when the weather is favorable to work in these conditions.
So it would pretty much double the length of time if you
If we
didn't get the variance.
That's correct.
That's my question.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public here to speak? Sir, come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry to call me sir. Roy Lester, Long Beach, New York. Just a quick question on the resolution. You only have it moving from New York Avenue going west, but that's not the case. And I mean, it's a simple fix, it should be west and east.
Stratford, it starts from.
Can't hear you.
It starts from the west, from New York west, until it continues and completes.
Right, it starts west, but it doesn't move just west. The correct way to do it, moving west and east.
Right, but until the project completes, they may have a contingency or something they need to adjust. Maybe they'll do a different beach or something.
Why don't you just correct it so it's
But
right?
it does say within the boundaries of the city of Long Beach.
Yes, it does, but west, it says moving west. It's so simple to correct it, then you never have to worry about anybody in the east suing you guys because it said on the west. It's so simple.
Mr. Leslie, this is actually a question that a number of us have had with the resolution, and it was not due to be a mistake or error, as you are suggesting. I think that by saying that it's the boundaries of the city of Long Beach, it just was clear that it was starting at that point, moving west, and then we were going east. I think it's understood and
So you don't want to.
pretty good. I don't think it's an error, so no, I don't want to.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Please state your name and address for the record. I'd just like to remind everyone that there is a 3-minute limit for speaking. We're going to try and stick to that this evening. Thank you.
Kathleen O'Leary, 350 East Market Street, Long Beach. I don't feel like I'm in favor of this. Number one, you have people have to get up for work in the morning, every morning. They're going to be in their area for, let's say, 10 days. You have people that have kids that have to sleep at night. And you have people who are stuck in the house and can't get out. I understand the idea of speeding it up 24/7, but I think it would be more gentle on residents if it was like from 8 in the morning until 11 at night, maybe, not through the whole night. I mean, when I saw this, I think of Waco with the FBI playing music all day and night, 24/7 to get the people to come out. You know, it just is not something that I've ever seen done in civilization, you know, besides Waco. And maybe now they're saying Jared Kushner had extra construction in his buildings on the Upper West Side to get the rent control tenants out and make more money. So those are the two, you know, this is not good for people, is what I'm trying to say. It's not good for the quality of living. It's also not good for people using the beach. Okay, you go to the beach to relax, you don't go to the beach to listen to pile driving and bulldozers. Okay, so, you know, I understand where it has to be done, but I am not in favor of doing it 24/7. If this is not Waco, and I think it should be limited. And also, I have a problem with the way this is written. It's kind of written like it's a done deal. I think you should take the community's input possibly before the zoning board takes a vote, and then advise the zoning board as to what the community's feelings are on this. The way this is written, it's all written in the past tense as if it's a done deal, and we never, you know, two people now have spoken on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point. And just a quick response to that, we have been taking noise readings on a regular basis to get a feel for what the ambient noise levels are at on the beach. with or without the work ongoing. And we've only seen some minor differences for the work that we've been doing since we started on Saturday. So barely noticeable, and might be a good idea for folks to try to get down there and actually experience it.
Well, if I could say, I don't live right on the beach, but I can hear the noise from the middle of the barrier island. I have very good hearing. So, and we're all kind of tired of construction. We've had nothing but construction for 5 years, 6 years after Sandy. We've had enough.
Understood, and, you know, our objective here is to get the job done and get out of your hair and try to get this protection put in place as soon as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leary. And this is a very common or to have work operate 24 hours a day when you do these kinds of replenishment?
Yeah, it's a standard practice.
Standard.
I've been doing this for 40 years, and this is the first project that we've not worked 24/7.
Thank you. So, anyone else from the public? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, John Williams. Just a question, could you go a timeline, what it would be if it was like a 12-hour schedule or the 24-hour schedule? Because maybe we might get a better understanding that way, because the way it was described, you know, we have our beach season, really, it's like July to September 3rd. And we're gonna lose a lot of our beaches, you know, but if it does go to 12 hours, they're gonna be going into September and October, which is fine, as far as we should be concerned in Long Beach, because we're not going in the water then. So, if it extends a little longer, it extends a little longer. So, I mean, if you could tell us what your days would be, you threw a bunch of days up there on a thing, but we really couldn't see or understand. Tell us what it would be for like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, it would be.
Better understand.
It would probably be more than double the time, because.
You know, in other words, whatever it is, you must have a schedule for the 24-hour day, you must have a schedule for the 12-hour day. Do you?
You can assume that it will be at least, the 90 days will at least 180 days. And what will happen for us is that at some point we won't be able to work offshore, which is gonna mean that we might have to come back for a second season. And the only time that we can work in Long Beach, because of the piping plover on the beach, is during the season now. We can't go to the east end of the island. If we could, we would go down there first and then come back here with less disruption for you during the beach season.
Okay, but that still doesn't explain what I'm asking you to do that.
It would take 100, the 90 days would take at least 180.
I understand that, but could you put it out so we all understand? In other words, you said from this day to this day, this day to this day, put out what it would be on a 12-hour day. Right now, you have a 12-hour day, so you should really be giving us a schedule on a 12-hour day. Then, if you get a 24-hour day, it'll go from here to here. Can you do that?
We can provide those dates.
That's all, I'd like to hear it. Let's hear it, please, thank you.
Thank you.
Question. I'd like to hear it.
Sure, Ms. Fiore, please come up. State your name and address for the record.
Dina Fiore, Long Beach. First, I support the project moving ahead. I would just like to ask, you guys live in the West End currently?
I do.
And John, and I'm just curious to know, maybe you guys have experienced some of what the noise levels have been for the last couple of days. Have you had any, or the neighbors have had any significant issues as of now with the 12-hour time, as far as the noise during the 12-hour period? Okay, so I'm only asking because we're all concerned about a 24/7 problem when right now we don't even have a 12-hour problem. So 24/7 may be less of an issue than some people might believe. I would also say this to anybody who has not seen this project or did not go to the presentation or has not read it. John, I understand 12 hours. We have to do this before hurricane season commences again. Getting our beaches open, working 24/7 allows our beaches to be opened quicker and getting the work done faster in a shorter period of time. And if we have to bring them back, we have to bring the company back in another year, it's only going to cost us more money. So this should be our last summer let's all just use the expression, live with it, suck it up, and let's move on with it.
Name and address for the record.
Allison Blanchett. This is being reimbursed 100%, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we don't even have to pay anything. We're not expensing anything, so it's not even a reimbursement.
Okay, well, what I'm wondering about is if we cut this in half and if they have to come back next year, next season to finish this, how would that affect any payment? Is it going, as far as costs go? Because from what I understand, this is a FEMA thing?
No.
It's not, who is paying
This
for
is
this?
funded by the Army Corps of Engineers.
And Army Corps of
In the contract with Great Lakes Dredging.
Right, so how will this affect the payment if this has to go into a second season? How will this affect us taxpayers?
We're not paying anything for it, so that would be between their.
So it would be between them, okay, so with.
But we were warned that if the dredges do leave and go somewhere else, it doesn't necessarily mean they come back promptly.
Okay, so we're better off just getting it done, right, which I also support doing.
For them.
Okay, I just wanted to echo that, it says because we were looking at. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchett. Anyone else from the public? Yes, Mr. Delory. Please state your name and address for the record. And thank you for participating and helping out that young Eagle Scout.
Thank you all. I just have one question. It's, I just looked project, by the way. If you could describe what you plan on, right now the pipe coming in is on Grant Boulevard. You finished New York Avenue and now you're on to the next beach. At what point would you open beaches behind you?
Well, we can only have closed 1,000 feet each at a time. So as we're moving forward, right now, we are opening beaches at New York to the first jetty, which is what, Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania.
So that beach is being opened right now, and as we move farther to the west.
So possibly this weekend,
Yeah,
24 hours New York, and then the next beach might be open.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, as long as the weather holds up.
Understood.
So those beaches would be much wider, so I think so.
Anyone else on the public beach?
Yeah, plus the beach is wider, so.
Anyone else from the public have a question about the orders? Yes, Mr. Duval, please. Name and address for the record.
Duval, Long Beach, just want to say I'm totally in support of doing this 24/7. I know it's inconvenient for some people for a beach not to be closed to go to the next beach, but finally getting this done, finally getting the beach secured. And it's got to be done obviously before hurricane season, because hurricane season actually starts June 1st. And just to extend it, going into October, November, it doesn't make sense. I fully support 24/7.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Alex Mobley, 76 Heron Street, Long Beach. The issue is noise, correct?
Yes.
And you have the capability to monitor noise levels, correct? So I don't know how the city enforces noise ordinances, but if you can collect the information on what you're doing, why don't you give it to someone and we can then observe the incidents of, if you will, excess noise, whether it be during the day or whether it be during the evening, and understand whether or not you have a problem. And we can do that proactively rather than waiting for a room full of people like this coming and screaming. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Harry Brandel, 41 East Head, Long Beach. But I went down the west end, I think
going very nicely. If you guys want to check out the noise and stuff, the only noise that I see is the pine wings, and when Ice Star wanted to start working and when they played their little game. But that's, as far as that, we don't really have a choice. You know, it's gonna start getting colder. Once the hurricane season starts, the barn is gonna be going up and down. You start icing up, they're gonna have to pull it out. You know, so you really don't have a choice. I'd like to see it done as quickly as possible, as well as possible, and that's it. You can't do it in winter.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else from the public? Any follow-up from the council? Okay, seeing no hands, I close the hearing.
Okay, reading the regular calendar, item 1 is a local law amendment the charter of the city of Long Beach regarding call for veterans. Hearings have been held on this item already. Item 2 is a resolution granting a special noise variance to Great Lakes Dredge Dock Company. Hearings have been held on this item already. On to the voting. So voting on item 1 is a local law amending the charter of the city of Long Beach regarding call for veterans. Introduce for the adoption of this item.
Emma?
Second.
Since I happen to be a Cold War veteran, I would directly benefit from the passage of this, even though it's a small amount, so because of that, I feel it's appropriate for me to abstain.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Simon.
Yes.
President Morano.
Yes.
And item 2 is a resolution granting a special noise variance to the Great Lakes Dredge and Dock Company LLC. Introduce for the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Mandel.
So for people that have not gone down and seen this yet, I would suggest you go down and actually listen. I was down at New York Avenue the other night watching this. The noise is not overly obnoxious, and we're only talking about inconveniencing people for a day, 2 at most, since they're moving 200 feet a day. With hurricane season coming, I can in good conscience tell people we could have protected you, but we didn't because we only wanted to do work during the day. So because of that, I vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
The reality is, there's never a perfect time for this type of work to be done. But the city is in dire need of this renovative work. And the problem that we're dealing with is there's a time constraint and also ever-changing weather conditions. I believe it's better to do the work now to protect and preserve the city rather than regret it later, so I vote yes.
Councilmember Moore.
I just want to echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues. I just want to say that our protection is a priority, therefore I vote yes.
Vice President Simon.
Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to go down to the work site and listen to the noise and really understand exactly what the project is. And while I recognize that this presents an inconvenience, whether it's the noise or the project itself, we can't be in a position that we didn't do something that could have protected us going into hurricane season. And for that reason, I vote yes.
Very proud to be a part of the council that said yes to the Army Corps project and moving this forward as quick as possible. I think it's a priority for everyone. I vote yes.
Need a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Simon.
Yes.
President Morano.
Yes.
All right? Turn them on. I'm out of here.
So on. All right, so now we start our good and welfare. As everyone knows, it's 3 minutes, uninterrupted time. The last couple of meetings have gotten a little bit out of control. We're gonna try, I'm gonna try and please keep everyone to 3 minutes. You should be able to make your point within 3 minutes. I don't think that's too much to ask. And also the quorum. We've let it get out of control where folks are now cursing and doing lewd signatures to various people up here on the council. That's just not appropriate. That's not the city I think any of us want to live in, whether you disagree with any one person or not. So I ask you to refrain from that. should that kind of behavior continue, we will ask you to leave. So with that, I'll start with Senator Todd Kaminsky. Good evening, Senator. State your name and address for the record.
Todd Kaminsky, 125 East Broadway, Long Beach. Good evening. As you know, this is my first time as an elected official addressing the council, and would not do so if I did not think it was important or merited our working together and collective decision-making in order to move forward. I believe some of the issues that have appeared in the newspaper and have been front and center in front of the council about separation payments have gotten to a suffocating point in the city, whereas I hear from constituents all the time about it. People are very frustrated about their inability to get answers. And I think every taxpayer has the right to know what happened with their tax dollars, to know how it happened. And perhaps most importantly, to have assurances that there are safeguards so that such things will not happen again, especially to the extent that the council members may not have been the ones who put them in place in the first place or may not have known about them. At any rate, it's important that we have a handle on what's going on. And everybody in Long Beach should know that their tax dollars, which they work very hard to pay, are safeguarded with the utmost transparency and with the highest ethical standards. As some of you know, I was a federal prosecutor for 6 years, and when a company would learn that there was even a hint of impropriety or scandal or even just a complaint made, those companies would do an internal review. The companies would not say, hey, look, someone's looking around here. When they put out a report, I guess we'll read it together. They would take proactive steps to find out what took place in their own shop. And I think it would help all of us moving forward if the city did that. And whether it's in the form of someone who did this for a living, who now is in private practice, or the city undertake expertise to do its own audit, its own report, so what happened, its own recommendations of how to prevent this going forward. I think it would collectively serve us all. I think it would serve the city very well, especially because none of us are in control of the timing of the controller's audit, and that could take a long time. And I think it's very hard for us to move forward and do some of the good things that are planned with this cloud hanging over us. And I got a pretty big district, and I talk to people from all around the state, and people want to know what's going on in Long Beach, and they want to know what happened. And I think there's some basic answers that our citizenry in the state deserve, the questions that they deserve answers to. And I think the city should be proactive in getting them, proactive in performing those measures, proactive in moving forward and doing some good things. But we're never going to get there unless we take care of first things first. I urge you to do that. I will be helpful in any manner I can to use my office in any way possible. But there are some basic questions that have to be answered.
So if I could just respond. So we are frustrated too, like many residents, about an inability to get answers. But we joined with you and Legislative for the comptroller to come and do an audit. There's no one more independent. I assume you trust the ability of the New York State Comptroller and the independence of the New York State. I mean, what's more independent than another agency that we're not paying for, right? And then we also have the Nassau VA that's working collectively with the comptroller. So I, as an elected official, do trust the New York State Comptroller and the Nassau VA, which is what the voices that cried first wanted, and we all requested it. But then we also get into a legal realm where we've been advised differently about having another independent person come in here, and I think Council Berrios can speak to that better than I can in whatever legal issue you guys talk to each other in. But we are looking forward to the report, to the examination, and I think it's prudent for us to make those changes that we may need when we get that report. I think most of the council is in agreement on that. And to bring someone in here now that taxpayers are going to have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars when it's already happening, An examination like that would be very expensive for the taxpayer. So, Rich, can you speak to the legal process that they advised by the DA?
Can you hear me? I think the only real concern there, I don't presume to know anything about federal prosecution, but I know a little bit about how we've operated with the state in the past. And essentially, when an investigation by the DA is made public, if we proceed to go to some other independent audit or investigation, there's a potential there for, I believe in federal work, it's called Brady materials that have to be turned over and could possibly compromise an investigation. Now, there's also a state analog called Rosario materials, which also have to be exposed, which basically could compromise the DA's and the comptroller's investigation. So there's definitely a legal concern there to advise against that.
Yeah, we could have a whole debate on that. I mean, so basically, when someone puts a statement to paper, that then has to later be turned over to someone's defense attorney because they may have said something exculpatory. So,
Time.
So,
and I think the Assembly will appreciate this, but we are gonna keep a 3-minute rule. It's gonna be for everybody. Please just wrap up your thoughts. I appreciate it.
all I can say is from Fortune 500 companies to mom and pop stores, when people have gotten subpoenas and have boxes carried out, much worse circumstances than we see here. People have called in people to do their own assessment. It's an option, it's something you can look into, it's my suggestion, and you guys can make your own legal determinations, but I think it would behoove us to get this out of the way.
Disrespecting you like you've done to everyone else.
Thank you. Sorry, that could be the first one. One more person after this. Legislative Release Board.
Denise Ward, 36 on Iowa Avenue. I'm going to be very, very brief. I want to thank Senator Kaminsky for speaking on behalf of the residents here. One quick recommendation, cheap one, I guess, would be, how about a concerned group of citizens being allowed access to the city records overseen by Mr. Barrios for city official, and it wouldn't cost us anything, maybe people can finally get the information we're calling for. All right, and in the legislature, even though we have a 3-minute rule, we allow elected officials, if they want to take 10 minutes, they have the right to speak. But, and deservedly so, he should be allowed to speak it. But one thing, the water park, it's been on overnight, it's fresh aquifer water, we're trying to protect our water supply, and it's irresponsible and possibly negligent on the part of the city that in cool weather, rain, overnight, that water keeps pumping. You've got to come up with something, Georgia Avenue, yeah. And I don't know where else, but it's disgraceful that it's constantly running, and, you know, it's like, something, rainwater, recycled water, okay? You're gonna hear from somebody back in regards to the water taxi. I know it's been brought to my attention. I believe it's good for economic development. That means that we could add something exciting to the city. It would provide an opportunity for other growth. We'd have less cars in the city. And possibly we can set up something where we can bring people down to the West End and to a lot of the restaurants, because you can't park in the city, especially in the West End. So I think it would open up an avenue to bring a lot of people, possibly from Manhattan, back into our area of town and really start, you know, giving a boost to our businesses. The last time I was here, we talked about the crime reports. Remember, it was the money that you bonded, and it was like you added 500,000 more above and beyond the 1.3 million. And we talked about it. I guess City Manager tagged me and said, well, that's for Social Security. So I've been doing some investigation, and I do have copies of our claim forms that people use whenever they leave the city. And I'm sorry, I don't have enough for everybody. I apologize. But just to let you know, that doing my research, what happens is that when people get a separate, when they get a claim, they put in a claim separation pay, they get, say, $108,000. From that money, from the employee's money, That is where the social security and the taxes come from. So, Mr. Tagby had said that the $500,000 was to be used, that he believed, for social security, but that's incorrect. The social security and taxes get paid by the employee. So whatever the gross amount is that that person gets, that gets taken out, and then they have a net amount, which is usually less. That gets paid. So that $500,000 that you bonded for, it's very questionable as to what you really needed it. I think and had I known more, and I'm sorry I didn't, that I was a little confused about it, but I did some research with our own county people. So, I think that you over-bonded in that case. But thank you. But once again, I think that you really should. Senator Kaminsky, you deserve much more respect.
I never felt like we had to push that we are any more important than anyone else. And I thought you made this point within the 3 minutes. So I think to residents that everyone gets their 3 minutes. That everyone gets their 3 minutes.
I understand that, but in all fairness, I mean, we have to involve always, and I don't always ask for more than 3 minutes. Sometimes I push for 30 seconds. And I know that,
And that's
but I
completing the
won't.
thought. But they were about to start a debate on the legal merits of something, which I don't think
But
is
it's not,
appropriate.
the 3 minutes is a guideline, it's not a hard and fast rule. And what happens is that, when you have something, and I'm sure that if Senator Schumer or Gillibrand came, or Congresswoman Rice came to speak before you, it really would be rather insulting if you said all of a sudden to Kathleen, well, your 3 minutes is up. He is the partner in government. He is very important as the funding income. And he is president here, and I think the fact that he took the time out, I really think that.
Senator Kaminsky has
And I
been more than
understand
enough a
you
partner
wanted to
with us, and it
you
wasn't,
wanted to be
had nothing to do with the relationship between Senator Kaminsky and the city, and
But I think that.
we should all be held to the same standard is what I think. Thank you. Alex, Morgan, Alex?
Second word, sorry. No. Alex Mullenweg. Mullenweg. So, two observations, and then I would like to give you 3 questions for updates. First, thank you so much, Senator Kaminsky, for suggesting a common practice that industry and government uses, which are advisory panels, like boards of directors, but non-binding advisory panels, which are a great way to get an understanding for what's going on. In fact, that's exactly what I suggested in writing to each one of you. Mr. Vandal, Mr. Mandel, and Ms. Moore responded back to me. Mr. Taggart responded back as well and said, we should wait until we get a city manager for that. So that prompts my first question. Apart from the fact that you seem to be intransigent about moving forward to create a proactive mechanism that will give you the fact-based information you need, my first question is, what's the status of hiring a full-time city manager? My second question is based, and I was really thrilled to hear your concern about protecting the island. Okay, I live in the canals. I live in the lowest point in Long Beach. My street flooded 5 days in a row last week, and we're facing a hurricane season. So what is the status of the capital improvement project for the canals? That's really my second question. And my third question is, I do understand that the city is facing some litigation with potential damages. My update request from the council is, when do we see this resolving? I'm not asking for confidential information. I'm not asking for any information on the negotiations. I'm asking for some sense of timeline. Because I think myself and everybody else in this room is expecting yet another special tax assessment. So the question becomes one of timing. I understand that the strategy is to minimize that claim as much as possible. So those are the 3 issues I'd like updates on. And I'm more than willing, as I'm sure a number of other folks are, to work with the council on an external advisory panel to get some facts rather than waiting for what's going to be a lengthy and complicated process. What are we supposed to do, and what are you supposed to do in the meantime for facts, data, and information? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to respond.
I was looking for the Commissioner of Public Works had to leave, to give you an update on the canal situation.
I speak with Mr. Miranda frequently, so I can call him directly.
Okay, so then you're aware of what's going on in the canals. Obviously, we know that that's really where the
Well, why don't
flooding
you
really
come down
occurs
when
from.
it floods, because nothing's gonna get
It
done.
floods in a lot of places, sir, including where I live. We do have, we're waiting for an Army Corps project, I think, a study, an Army Corps study to see what can be done back there. We do have a critical infrastructure project that's occurring in the middle of town where there's never been any sort of protection. But then also the public areas of the CRP, I guess John can probably speak to that a little more fluidly than I can. But the CRP money that we got from the state is going to protect public sections of the bulkhead, which is a start, because as we all know, that, you know, it's not uniform across the whole north end, that causes problems. So, and where we are with the city manager, I think we do desperately need someone full-time, whether acting or not. The commissioner has been very gracious and has given us loads of his time, and I think the police department needs him back right away. So I think we're at a standstill at this moment, but I hope that the council can come together on an acting city manager at least very soon, because the city desperately needs someone full-time.
The question was, where are we in hiring a manager?
And we're at a standstill at the moment, sir.
Is that because we couldn't source candidates? Is that because the candidates that we sourced?
There's various reasons, there's various reasons why, and I think that's a conversation for the council to have. Thank you. Megan O'Donnell. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, Megan O'Donnell, Georgia Avenue, Long Beach, New York. I just wanted to speak about your search for the city manager. I'd like to request that when you're reviewing the candidates and the credentials to fill the city manager position, I ask that you judge them based on the following criteria. First and foremost, they should be or intend to be a full-time Long Beach resident. Second, they should not be under investigation for receiving separation payments. Third, they should not have contributed to any one council member's campaign for election. Finally, once you narrow during these elections, I ask that you announce who they are prior to you voting on them. Then I request that you hold a town hall meeting for the residents to come and ask questions and to get to know your final selections. I believe that having this open dialogue between your final selections and the residents will only help you to make a more informed decision. My other, for the person who will manage our city day to day, it will also help to promote a level of transparency that our city so desperately needs.
Thank you. Tina Bilzeri. Please state your name and address for the record.
Tina Posterly, Long Beach. Over the past months, I've been actively engaged in what's been going on here, and I've sat through several of these meetings, waiting to hear a good answer, really any answer, about the financial mess we're in, the state of separation payments, and timetable and process for filling the position of city manager. It's been quite discouraging, to say the least. And I'm also discouraged by the comment Commissioner Rando made that the real problem with our city is the small group of complainers that come to these meetings. Who may echo this, the voices of this small group of complainers reverberates on every baseball field, every softball field, every soccer and lacrosse field, in all of our diners, at the beach, on our streets, and in our neighborhoods. Don't make the mistake of thinking people aren't listening and don't care, and that they won't weigh in during times that matter the most, like the next city council election, because make no mistake, they will. Our city government needs to do better for the people it represents. One way to make a change here for the better is to adopt a fair, transparent process in hiring a city manager, as others have just echoed here. One that's currently not employed by the city, one who can look at things here through a fresh lens and perspective. And I'm not looking for a response from you today. I just want to pose two questions. For those of you who choose to perpetuate this form of bad government, is this the legacy you wish to leave behind? And is this how you want future generations to remember you? I urge you to think long and hard about those questions, and then do the right thing by the community you were elected by and appointed to represent. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Here in Long Beach, New York. We've listened to a number of people, and I don't want to belabor the point, but obviously having a city manager is of utmost importance. Not only a city manager, but a comptroller. We're in a fiscal crisis here, and we do not have a permanent comptroller either. Tonight you spoke about how the city council is at a standstill. What is that standstill? Is it that we cannot seem to generate applications for the job? Are we not looking in the right places? Do we need to hire a headhunter? Maybe, do we need to find a search committee? I think there's people in this community that are probably very capable of doing the job. I don't think it's right that we should have to live with whoever is appointed as an active. I think it's time, it's 7 months plus, that we should be able as a group, it does not bear well on the city council that you're unable to come to a decision on having hired probably next to you, the single most important employee in the city, and a comptroller. So if we have a situation here where we can't seem to find the right candidates, then we gotta start looking elsewhere. And the standstill, is it just to hold out long enough to see who we can drop into the spot? This is nothing against Mr. Agostisi or anybody else that's been pointed at for the position. This is about finding the right person to take this city to the next step and get us out of the hole we're in. Enough is enough.
Dave Dusko. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Jay Gusson, Long Beach. Just to pick up where Senator Kaminsky left off. So the city has adopted the stance that we're going to solely rely on the audit being conducted by Tom Donati, the New York State Control.
The New York State Comptroller's Office and the Nassau District Attorney's Office, yes.
That same Tom Donati that is arguably the most aggressive backer of Jack Shearman's campaign. So now, I mean, we're saying who could be more impartial? I think that this could potentially pose a problem for Jack Shearman, and let's face it, Donati is very tight with Jack Shearman. So impartial, I'm not buying. Second thing is my understanding that Madeline Singers is basically awaiting the outcome of the comptrollers, the New York State Comptroller's audit before she takes any or initiates any kind of criminal investigation. So if that's so, and if, as the New York State Comptroller's office has said, the results of their audit could be as much as 9 months or more out, that would mean that Singers isn't even going to start to take a look at it until that report has been done. It may be a pricey endeavor for us to turn around and get our own auditor to take a look at the books, a private auditor to take a look at the books, but we're talking about a lot of money here. And in addition, still unresolved is whether or not any future recipients of these kinds of monies are going to be paid pursuant to the old formula, which we're not sure is correct, or whether they're going to be applied, have the formula applied to them as it's written in the code. So it's pretty important that we get to the bottom of A, whether or not these guys were paid the correct amounts, and B, whether or not the formula that was used to arrive at their payments is the formula that we should be arriving at. There's going to be some exempts leaving between now and the issuance of comptrollers and athletes report.
You guys really need to get together and figure out how you're gonna pay those separating employees. Are you gonna pay them according to the questionable formula that's been used in the past, or are you guys gonna get nailed down firmly what they're entitled to, what the process should be applied to calculate their payments, and make sure that they're paid the right amount, so we don't have to go through this again.
Eileen Hession. Please state your name and address for the record.
Eileen Hession, Long Beach. Some of this has been stated already tonight, but I do want to belabor it because sometimes you don't hear it and it needs to be repeated. These are just some of the thoughts about our great city. First, the 9 a.m. meeting called last week was a disgrace. The Long Beach organization chart lists the residents as at the head. The city council, city manager, and corporation council are listed below the residents, meaning they work for the residents. Please remember that. Second, I would like to suggest that if an acting city manager is being considered, that job be given to the two people who are currently working as deputy and assistant city manager until a full-time city manager is chosen. Isn't that what an assistant is supposed to do? Step in when the boss can't take care of it. Third, the city is in trouble. There have been many financial and personnel decisions made over time that have been bad for this city. Mr. Aramo, you've been here for 6 years and have not corrected or changed those things. That is why we are where we are today. Growth with an angry citizenry. I'm going to tell you a few of my beliefs, and my question at the end will be, do you agree with me? Number one, I believe our new city manager should be someone from outside this system, someone who can look at our city with new eyes, new perspective, and bring in new ideas. Our leaders need help, and it must be from outside the inner circle. Two, I believe the new city manager should be a full-time, permanent hire, not an acting CM, not temporary. Three, I believe in the qualifications you have listed as duties of the new city manager. For example, a high level of integrity, tact, diplomacy, and discretion. We do not want someone with a short fuse, but someone who speaks respectfully to the residents and community leaders and respects the democratic process we have here that allows us to ask questions, expect answers, and express opinions. Four, as you require, the city manager should live in Long Beach, not just rent an address, but be part of our community, full-time, family and all. Five, no city manager should be chosen until the questionable payments have been investigated and explained. So my question, do you agree with those beliefs and will you follow them?
In principle, I do agree with some of them, yes.
Is there anything that you want to discuss? I still have a minute left at least.
No, but I do agree we need a full-time city manager as soon as possible.
Not an acting.
No. Ms. Amy Potter. Please state your name and address for the record.
Amy Potter, Penn Street, Long Beach. Just wondering if there was an update about the mobility maps. I had asked last meeting, and I was told that things would be looked into.
I don't have an update. No. Ryan, do you know anything about the new mobility maps? No. I'm sorry, we don't have an update for you. Yeah, it's on the form, right?
Is there anyone that can take her information so that
Is
we
it on
can
there?
follow up on that? Why not? She was here for the last meeting.
Yep.
Ryan, can you take her sign sheet and just get her contact information so that we can have Commissioner Miranda reach out.
Mr. Deloria, you're next.
Mike Delory, Long Beach, New York. I'd like to first start off by thanking council members for inviting Eagle Scout Justin Cornell tonight and recognize his accomplishments. It sets a good example for the younger scouts. And thank you, Councilwoman, for attending his ceremony. What I'm going to hand out to you is an article in today's paper. There's one of each. Should be 7 copies here. And basically it points out it just compares the overtime, which I've spoken a couple of times before about, but now you have a comparison. The town of Hempstead is the largest employer of any town or city government on the island. This is news there, I believe it's page 819 today. The city of, the town of Hempstead has reduced its total overtime in 2016 to $2.1 million. I'd like to just point out that the city of Long Beach's overtime this past fiscal year was $2.9 million. The town of Hempstead employs 10 times as many employees as the city of Long Beach. The most overtime in 2017 was for a water service supervisor, Mr. Slater, which was $17,357. The point is that I'm pointing out to you is A, we have no city manager for the past 7 months. I'm not going to reiterate what everybody else before me just said. Number 2, we have not had a city controller for 7 months. Those 2 positions are key to financial stability. As you all know that, I don't have to point that out. This is not an indictment against any decision making. However, Friday morning, I was extremely alarmed when I first heard the rumor that maybe it wasn't a rumor, that a decision was reached or soon to be reached about appointing a person to be acting city manager. I know my time is up. I don't want to belabor the issue. I'd like to close on a high note. Thank you for your service. But you have to really deal with the overtime issue. Thank you.
Thank you. So, 2 points of overtime that I would make is it's basically been almost eliminated at this point, just for under Commissioner Tagney. But the big difference between us and the town of Hempstead is our first responders. We do have our own police department, and we do also have a career fire department. So that would be one big difference, and that's a large source of our overtime in the city. Ms. Stephanie Surratt. Thank you, Ms. Surratt. Please just state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Surratt. And I hope you don't take it away from my time, but I do want to apologize. I do want to thank Senator Kaminsky and legislator Ford for appearing here tonight, and I have to apologize for not being allowed to, they had to stick to the 3 minutes, and I think a senator and a legislator should be allowed to have an extra few minutes to thank their people. Having said that, another idea is, why is it 3 minutes? You can't really get out what you have to say in 3 minutes. I mean, that's a pretty short time. But I have 3 things to say. I'll say it as fast as I could, because I probably already used up one of my minutes. I'm surprised that no one has spoken tonight about the huge tax rates that we've all been hit with. I, for one, thought it was a shock when I opened up my tax bill. I actually called up to ask if this could be an error, and I was told, well, you elevated your house. True, I elevated my house, but I was mandatory elevated. I had no choice. And now for complying, I'm being penalized for mandatory elevation through my taxes. My market value went up $245,000. Something's wrong with that picture. I mean, it sounds good to have your house be more than that, but on the other hand, you're paying taxes on that. I didn't add any square footage. I didn't change the footprint. As I said, yes, it sounds good that your fair market value goes up, but this was with no notice. I'm already struggling with my taxes in Long Beach. And now I have to worry my tax rate is doubled. And I have to now, as a senior, alone, disabled, low income, and food stamps, I have to worry about where am I getting these thousands of dollars in August? And what's going to happen to me? Who do I go to? Who do I ask? What do I do when I can't come up with this money? I'll just be hit with late fees and interest. And, who do I see about this? It's an outrage that my bill was raised double. And some people I've heard have been raised triple. Moving on, I heard in the last council meeting that someone proposed an outrageous idea of parking meters, which I'm totally against. I'm sorry, 15 seconds, I'll talk fast. Parking meters, that's ridiculous. We already have nowhere to park, and to put parking meters, and we shouldn't have to pay to do that, and the money goes to the city. I find that an insult. The last thing, just to wrap it up, I heard my beeping. I know it's not a popular thing, but we're spending money on fireworks, concerts, all those things you mentioned ahead of time. All makes the city look good, but who's paying for that? All of the taxpayers are paying for all of those things. And I think that's somewhere where we might be able to look into the budget to cut down on things like that, instead of putting a deficit onto our tax bills. Thank you very much for listening.
Harry, is it Randall, right? I'm sorry, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Harry Randall, East 10th Street, Long Beach. You guys know what these are, right?
I can't tell from here, sorry.
Okay. Everybody knows what these are? Okay. So as I was sitting, filling it out the other day, I was thinking that sitting in this chair was Mr. Agostino, that you were thinking about having as city council, all right, and or city manager. And I'm thinking, I'm paying all this, just voted to raise the bond issue, and he's the one that's going to be trying to raise the bond issue. And I'm sitting here, I've been a resident 41 years. I've never seen him out on the boardwalk. I've never seen him out at any event. And the man lives in Dix Hills. And this is who we are going ahead, and one of the people you're thinking about voting on, if he doesn't even live here, doesn't care about the city, and doesn't pay any taxes, to the city, what is he doing raising our taxes? All right? And we have other problems. We have ISTAR and a lot of things. What, you go ahead and you vote on raising taxes or overdeveloping the city, and he doesn't even want to live here? What interest does he have? You're gonna have to find somebody that lives in town, all right? There's plenty there. I mean, I've been here for 41 years, okay? And Long Beach traditionally has a history of corruption and backroom politics, but never in my life have I ever seen what is going on right now. That's why we just voted in November is coming. Okay, I'm out all the time, out on Boardwalk and in other places, and this is what I'm hearing. People are fed up with you guys, all right? And, there's gotta be some way, okay? This is not working. I'm paying you. They're paying you, okay? And you better start thinking about, unless you're expecting ISTAR to pay you as a salary, all right? I expect that you start working for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Nugent. Please state your name and address for the record.
Pat Nugent, report. Question, I responded to an RFP in 2015. I responded to an RFP in 2015, 2016, along with my partner Brian Bradisher, who's a Long Beach resident. And we're just trying to figure out how we're gonna get some traction on this project. I know a bunch of you are familiar with it, with the water taxi system here on the north side and the bay side. And I guess I'm here just trying to get some answers of, how do we move this forward? I hear all the things, about the financial situation. We're looking to bring you guys a project that's gonna cost zero for the city. I feel as though it's gonna bring a lot of benefits to the city. And we're just trying to figure out how can we get this thing on the ballot, move this thing forward, or an answer of what happened. We won 2015 heads. Everything that.
Same question. If you're looking on Tuesday last week, if you want to take this year, it talks about channel hopping, where they have water taxis up and down Long Island. Our partners require our own water taxi. We look like this is economic growth for the city of Long Beach. We have our approvals from the DEC, the only corner in town, Hempstead. In my opinion, this is a no-brainer for the city. We're financing it, but we're also donating slips to Long Beach Police Department, to Long Beach Fire Department, National County Marine Bureau, United States Coast Guard. All of this is something that's needed on this barrier island. There's been a lot of water rescues, and there's going to continue to be a lot of water rescues. All we're looking to do is get some answers and move forward on this project. We'll have to meet this, was it Thursday at noon, at Bridgeworks, with Patty Bourne, I guess, from Economic Development. You were sent an email, I guess, from the Chamber of Congress. If any of you can respond and come to it, we'd really like to see you all there. That's it. If not, hopefully we can be scheduled for another time. Thank you very much for your time.
So the Commissioner Tagny had just approached us prior to the meeting and asked us to, set up a meeting with the winning bid for the water taxi project. So I think that should be out there very soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Roy Lester.
Roy Lester, Long Beach. First, I have to comment on the disrespect I feel.
Can't hear you.
I have to comment on what I felt was the disrespect from Mr. Kaminsky, Senator Kaminsky. You know what? I watch the tapes afterwards. When it's somebody that's praising you guys, like the last speaker at the last scheduled meeting, who was saying how great you guys were and busy attacking a 16-year-old who comes here for democracy, you didn't stop him in 3 minutes. Not at all. Look at the tapes. Yet as soon as somebody comes up here and is in any way critical, boom, that's it, 3 minutes. That's just wrong. It's wrong, and it's especially wrong for Mr. Kaminsky. Now, the other thing is, you said that just a couple of minutes ago, that overtime's been virtually eliminated.
It's been very low with our CSA workforce.
Then why in the budget, you have overtime for the police at 1.14 million? Overtime for the fire department at 503,000. Overtime for the ice arena, 9,500. Overtime for celebrations, 35,000. Overtime for street maintenance, 165,000. Overtime for sanitation, 160. Overtime for snow removal, 150. Overtime for transportation, 109,000. That doesn't sound like it's being eliminated. We're talking millions of dollars. Why do you say it's being eliminated?
It's very low, it's virtually eliminated. It's virtually eliminated. We all get the same report, and the reports are very low, and I was not including police and fire.
Well, that's, when our tax bills come in, that
And that's
includes
an
the
annual, and that's a budget that's annual. Right, beach maintenance needs overtime in the summertime. We all enjoy beautiful beaches because beach maintenance is out there.
No, if things are scheduled properly, you don't need overtime.
Actually, we need a lot of work.
I just, it's just disingenuous to say overtime's been virtually eliminated.
There is no overtime that occurs in the city right now without approval from the city manager.
It's still, you budgeted for $2 million, at least $2 million you budgeted for. So, but the reason I wanted the question I have was, can you explain to me the July 13th meeting? What was the urgency for a special meeting?
We had the air conditioners that needed to be voted on.
But that was all done. If you look at the tapes from July 3rd, Mr. Miranda said that was all taken care of, and it's going to be taken care of the next day. He said that.
You're mixing up air conditioning units, sir.
Look at the tapes, Anthony.
If I can just respond, I think there's some confusion. Mr. Miranda's comments at the 2 meetings ago regarding air conditioning were related to the air conditioning in the main city hall building. There was still an issue with the air conditioning in the police department, which included the fire department as well. So that was a separate unit that needed to be voted on. We found a solution that was able to be installed rather quickly, and it's actually outside. In the parking lot, you can pass it online.
You couldn't wait 3 days for a meeting.
I don't think that we could be in a position, I don't think we wanted to ask our police officers or our firefighters to go any longer without sufficient air conditioning. Hot.
So you called an
and-
emergency meeting. How much notice do you give the public on an emergency meeting? How much are you required to
By
do?
law, it's 12 hours. By law, I think it's 12.
And you didn't know about this air until 12 hours beforehand?
We were waiting for purchasing. If we could have done it Thursday, we would have done it Thursday.
So you found out Thursday that you were purchasing the air
We
conditioning?
knew that the solution was happening when we were waiting to open up the bids or whatever the purchasing agent had to do, so we were ready to go. As soon as the purchasing agent was ready to go, we called the meeting.
And when was that? They were ready to go on Thursday afternoon?
I think I signed on Thursday.
And so you called the meeting for the next day rather than, I just think that's.
I would have done it that same day if I was able to.
Okay, I kind of think that's disingenuous to the public too. The public should be entitled to know when these meetings are, not 12 hours ahead of time for these emergency meetings. It's just not right. It's, I don't know any other public body that conducts themselves that way. Time's up.
That's your time. Thank you, sir. John McNally. Name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening, everybody. John Pound, 613 West Walnut Street. Basically reinforcing what most other folks here are saying. 7 months without a city manager, there's, I don't know, I can't for the life of me sort of come up with why that would be. Sorry, everybody. 7 months, no city manager is bizarre. So, I would urge a rapid conclusion to finding a permanent city manager. I wasn't going to comment on the air conditioning or the Friday meeting, but My understanding is that the police department has been without air conditioning for 6 years or something along those lines.
And the rumor thing coming and going, yeah.
You know, and there was, I'm sure nobody here is immune to the rumor mill that's going on Facebook, so it doesn't add up and it doesn't sort of read well for the residents to say that that meeting was only about air conditioning. And then the last part that I totally back Senator Kaminsky's notion that I believe was also espoused by Councilman Bendo. I don't think anybody takes the vibe that's going on here. You gotta be a sadist, and I don't believe any of you to be. There might be one or two behind me that are. But yeah, I think the only way to resolve that is to get answers. And I understand that Corporation Counsel has, you know, an opinion that there's potential conflicts here. I am no lawyer, but I've worked with enough lawyers and worked for an agency that has lawyers that, you know, I'm smart enough to know that quite often your counsel will give you the opinion that you asked for, or that you so desire. So I think if there is a will to move forward with something like that, there is a way. Case in point, residents and the public are entitled to 3 minutes of uninterrupted time here, and separated employees are entitled to 30% time every.
Nancy Golden. You state your name and address for the record.
Nancy Golden, Long Beach, New York.
Can't hear you, Nancy.
Okay, well, yell. Long Beach, New York, Nancy Golden here. My first issue is the lack of speed limit signs on the block of East Pine Street between Long Beach Road and Monroe Boulevard. I had spoken about this last year and the commissioner knew about it and told me that there's a speed limit sign on Long Beach Road when you go to make the turn, the left-hand turn to go up east toward the canals. I actually followed somebody that was going probably 50 miles an hour down the block, made a right turn without stopping at the stop sign, went through the stop sign at Fulton Street, all the way down to Park Avenue where another car got in front of me. I lost track of them when I got to Long Beach Road. No police cars in sight, but there were children on the corners waiting for their pickups for their camp. Anybody could have been killed, people walking their pets. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, on top of the fact that the guys that work at Mavis Tire use the parking lot behind the building to park clients' cars, and they randomly shoot out of that lot, going the opposite direction on Pine Street to get into one of the bays of the store on Long Beach Road. It's ridiculous, and actually one time I almost got hit, just going down my block, and I know they're there all the time. And the second thing is, just for Harry, I brought my tax bill, all right? I'm just going to read, it says first half payment, and then the next thing is full payment. There's no second payment on here. It doesn't equal half. The first payment doesn't equal half. Isn't that illegal?
So
False documents here.
it may have been a glitch that the city manager had spoken about earlier in the meeting. I'm not quite sure if you fall into that group.
I didn't live my house at all.
No, I'm not talking about the rates. It said if it was a folks got tax bills that don't normally get one.
Mortgage? No, I'm paying the small business administration alone so that I can put my house back together. Nothing to the effect of what he said.
I would ask you to call the tax assessor's office and ask them if there's a problem with
I'll
your
go
bill.
there
Okay.
because this is ridiculous.
And can you just state again the street where there's no signs? It was
The 200 block of East Pine Street.
200 East Pine, okay.
Walgreens is on the south corner, Vegas Tire is on the north corner. There's only like 5 or 6 houses on the block, and there's also construction on the block as well, so it gets pretty hairy there.
Thank you, Ms. Holden, thank you. Ms. Morgan? Name and address.
Nori in Long Beach. I just have a few things. So in the rules of order that was sent out, there is a line that says the further time is granted by the council, so I think you could have granted Mr. Kaminsky some extra time. I'm a bit confused about why we have to give out our address, because Mr. Taggy personally told me I didn't need to state my address, and Mr. Agostisi backed it up. So that's just.
And he advised me that I have to ask for it for the record, and if you choose
Yeah,
not to
I
give
just-
it, you choose not to give it.
I'm just confused about it because a lot of stuff stopped a number of years ago, but that's neither here nor there. So my other question was, I sent an email to all the city council last week and I did not get one reply back. So Mr. Fraser, am I on the naughty list again? Am I blocked again? Okay, thanks. Not an acknowledgement from,
I didn't receive any email from you.
okay, so I guess maybe I'm back on the naughty list. So, okay. And then my last question is, what date did the city send a letter of request for an audit or an investigation to the Office of State Controller?
I don't believe we sent a letter.
You don't, so you did not request an audit or an investigation on behalf of everybody?
I personally called the New York State Comptroller's office
And
multiple times.
do you recall who you spoke to? Because there is no record of any city official, be it verbally, email, or written letter. There's no.
I spoke to the comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, twice. And I spoke to, I forget the name of the gentleman that's running the.
Aaron Kraken?
What was it?
Aaron Kraken?
No.
Darby?
Darby, is that something? Senator, do you know, Darby or? Gabe Dale.
Okay, because there is no record, I've not seen any request to audit or investigate from any city officials. So I think it's on tape somewhere that there was a letter.
I never said I wrote a letter, I never signed a letter, I called, right away we called.
Right away you called. Do you know what date you called, just so I can go back to him?
I don't.
Could you give me a time frame?
At this point, it's many months ago.
Do you think it was May, April?
I don't know.
You don't know. Do you think if you called from your cell phone, would it be on your call log?
I might have called from work, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember phone calls I made many months ago, I'm sorry.
It's always better to have things in writing, as we all know. And you are city president, council president, I really think that you should, even now, because it's not too late, to put a request in to audit and an investigation what has been happening.
Well, we already know in writing that it is happening, right?
You can't do the right thing and put it in writing, any of you? No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, I'm sorry we walked away this evening, but I just wanted to just say that, that was a very good question. And it's a very good question because maybe this now makes sense to me because there's a lot of conflicting information. But I can tell you as a member of the city council, I've never received any official communication from the comptroller's office. And I've also never received any information from the Nassau DA's office.
But did you give them any information? Did you
Right.
say there is a problem here?
No, because we did draft the letter, but then we were told that the investigation was already taking place. But now we're receiving other information based on all the information here and information that was supplied in Newsday, that this investigation is taking place and that this process is happening.
So you did draft that?
Yes.
Okay, so what date is that letter drafted? So then maybe I can go back and see when.
Not as a part of the council did not draft the letter. This letter was only a letter that was written. It was a letter that was written between me and Councilman Bendo. And then here in this room, we were told that the investigation was already taking place. Therefore, we never sent that letter out. However, as a result of all of the information that's been forthcoming, we now realize, and I went back to check all my emails, as a city official, I usually receive some kind of official communication from the comptroller's office if something is happening. And or if the DA's office is conducting an investigation, we receive something individually via email. But we've never received anything. I haven't received any communication. Nothing. I've never received a letter.
If I may.
I'm just still hearing different accounts, right? I've received information from Twitter, I've received information from Newsday, I've received information from residents, but I have never received an official communication.
Just to buttress that, I did receive an official communication from the comptroller asking me to sign a conflict form. I believe everybody on the council did,
I received
because they are doing the review.
But that's mandatory, we do that on an annual basis. I've received a conflict form myself. Several of us have received that email which times past from the state, yes, we have.
The letter from
I
the
have.
comptroller stated that they were doing an investigation, if I remember correctly, and asked us to complete a certain form, which is included in
It was from Mr. Ira McCracken. We received, I can only speak for myself, I received an email communication from Mr. Ira McCracken asking me to sign off on a waiver of conflict because they're doing an investigation for some type of review.
Right,
My understanding is, I'm assuming every council member received that, and that's in furtherance of their review. As for the district attorney's office, my understanding is how they conduct their investigations, we're not supposed to know what's happening. We're not supposed to be able to influence that or in any way participate in it unless they reach out to us, and then we would provide whatever's asked of us. I believe our corp counsel has already done that, and we're just waiting to find out where they stand. I know Mr. Gusto had said he's under the belief that the DA is waiting for the completion of the controller's review. I have nothing to base that on. I leave the DA to do the DA's work. I know Mr. Kaminsky has worked with the DA back when he was a prosecutor in Queens. I'm sure he has the utmost confidence in her abilities. So do I. So we're waiting to find out where they move next.
And have you responded to Mr. McCarthy?
Immediately.
You did? Okay. But you didn't write a letter to him requesting, when this first shenanigans came up in April?
When he reached out to me, it was that they were conducting the review and the
So he
investigation.
actually reached out to you?
He reached out asking
So
for a
again,
waiver.
I'm disappointed as my representative that you did, that I have to waste my time calling and Googling Mr. McCracken's phone number, the DA, it's not right.
Ms. Egan, just because you believe we didn't do what you would want us to
You just
do,
said
doesn't
you-
mean it's not already being done.
But you just
They're
said
doing
you-
the investigation and the DA is doing that.
Yes, we
But we can't confirm or deny that they're doing it. We don't have any official communication. How do we know that this is actually happening?
The comptroller's office requested all the documents pertaining to payments and payouts and all these sorts of documents in email, in writing, which every single city council member was CC'd on. And there was, I think, 150 emails, I think, 120 some odd emails that we were all CC'd on, with all the information is right there, and the requests from them and us giving the information to the comptroller's office.
Yes, we received whatever, the 120 emails, but that has nothing to do with the actual investigation. It has nothing to do with an internal review that we're asking for. That's separate. It's separate and distinct. That's what the issue is here on the floor.
Yes, that you're not requesting it as my representative, or get back on the mic.
Actually, Ms. Egan, your time is up, and the point is taken. The point is taken.
That's not you.
Because the clock stops when a council member speaks.
Okay, but this is not, oh my God. Oh.
Thank you, Mrs. Egan. Mr. Jim Kirkland. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jim Kirkland, Long Beach, New York. Earlier this evening, I had the pleasure of seeing Senator Kaminsky speaking on Channel 12 about the corruption that needs to be rooted out of the state of New York. And that is part of the problems that we are having here tonight, as well as who's going to be looking into everything that we're looking to have examined, because there's a total lack of confidence in the honesty and the integrity of the people that are going to be called upon to do that. You have Schneiderman, who is the Attorney General, who's under investigation. You have Jack Schneerman, who is the former city manager who's created this mess, who has been endorsed by Tom DiNapoli, who's supposed to be the head of the controller's office, that's going to be looking into all of these financial shenanigans that have been going on. And then you have DA Singas, who's relying on the report from Tom DiNapoli as to whether or not she should move forward on anything. So in order for anybody to feel confident that anything in this investigation is going to be done honestly and truthfully, pales in comparison to the need to have it taken out of the hands of the state and put into the hands of the federal government, where there is no bias and there is nothing to stand by their findings except the truth. Because we find that totally lacking in this council and in this city, and it isn't just now, it's been going back for the 40 years that I've lived in this city, and it's just a crying shame. At least in the beginning, the thieves were known to be who they are, and they still got things done. Here, we don't seem to be able to do both, and that's a shame because there's a lot more money coming in than there was 40 years ago. Thank you.
Mr. Brandon Healy.
Brandon Healy, West End, Long Beach. Gonna be changing gears for a second. First, I'd like to talk, congratulate Justin again on his award for Eagle Scout. It's quite an accomplishment. I've been involved with it for many years. And it was really a fantastic project he did. It really improved the West End, and we're happy to have him out there. So I'm here to talk about our Committee on Standards and Quality of Life. This is part of the West End Neighborhood Civic Association. So first and foremost, what we do is our mission of our committee is to represent the local residents by promoting the health, safety, and welfare of our community, but also striking a balance with local economic growth, tourism, and recreation. One of the things that we've instituted, and I know you're all aware, is our community board process we've set up in the West End. That's allowed us to work with many bars, restaurants, and taverns that are opening up or currently existing in the West End. We've got a lot of feedback from the residents and the community. One of the things that we've done is we've actually opined and given feedback to the SLA on a few license applications. Baked by the Ocean, which I mentioned, I think, in the last committee meeting, we did submit a letter of support to the SLA. That Baked by the Ocean is open, and if you do come to the West End, please definitely visit them. Blacksmith Breads as well. And then Happy's Lounge and Poor Choices are the last two that we were working with. Happy's Lounge, based upon the community feedback and input, we did submit a letter of opposition to the SLA, specifically because it is a new liquor license in a non-existing establishment location. Poor Choices, we are in active discussion with them. They have a 500-foot hearing coming up. I believe that is this Thursday with the SLA. And that is a pre-existing location, formerly Trainers. We received a lot of good input from the community on that as well. But the reason why I mention all this is because it takes a lot of time and effort to do this, as you know. The West End Neighbors, we are a group of volunteers, and obviously volunteers here as well. But we are asking that the City Council reinstitute the Public Safety Commission within the City of Long Beach. I met with Mr. Agostini last week about trying to get a perspective from the city if that could be done. This process needs to be instituted in the city. It's the wrapper that pulls everything together when it comes to looking at zoning, looking at license applications, providing consistent feedback. From a business owner's perspective, I've talked to many attorneys that represent liquor license applicants as well. They would welcome this. They want to know what they're getting into when they come to the city of Long Beach. They'd much rather know upfront versus hearing from a bunch of angry residents or people in support down the line. So I think from a transparency perspective, we should reinstitute the Public Safety Commission. It doesn't need to just focus on liquor licenses, but it can focus on many other activities as well. So with that, thank you for the time and thank you for listening, and I hope we can get that commission reinstituted. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Ms. Kim Mushman.
Kim Mussman, West End, Long Beach. The first thing I heard Denise had mentioned, Ford had mentioned the Georgia Park for water. So I thought I'd bring up that there have been a couple of showers at the beach. One, I know New York Avenue in Delaware in the last week that were running and they weren't turning off as well. So we just need to kind of be aware of that. And I am a little upset tonight. I wasn't going to speak about this, but I would like to just reiterate that as a voter and a homeowner and someone who struggled to help people recover from Sandy, and I just feel like we've all come together so much in the last 6 years, and I'm gonna get a little emotional about this. You know, most of you I know, and we've all been through a lot together, and it just really saddens me that we're not all working together better. I do want transparency. I was a little upset, or I thought it was a little ironic that you told Mr. Kaminsky, Senator Kaminsky, that nobody is above anyone else, but I feel like you keep shutting us out. You know, people keep asking you questions about the city manager position, and Anthony, I'm talking straight to you. I just feel like you keep shutting people out. But there has to be an answer. There's 5 people that we voted into office. There's 5. And to not have an answer for the public, I've been a union rep a long time too, okay? I would never accept from my boss an answer like you keep giving people, okay? I'm a union person too, okay? I would never accept that from him. If I asked him, are you hiring a new science teacher, he doesn't have an answer for me in 7 months. Were there applications being put in? Who was offered the job, whatever? I mean, that just doesn't even make sense. So you can understand my frustration, and I'm talking straight to you and respectfully. It's very frustrating, and I'm asking you guys to please come to the next meeting with information for the public about the application process. Who turned in an application? Why did you turn these people down? Who are the people who you're looking at? Something to give us some faith, restore our faith. We've all been through way too much together. Okay, we've been through way too much. And, Long Beach Rising Group, I founded that group. We have almost 2,000 members, I think, at this point. And everybody's asking questions about their taxes. Why didn't Long Beach, opt in to the Sandy tax relief that was offered? Things like that. Now these people are being hit with bills. And for my last point, I hope I don't get cut off, I never get a tax bill because I have a mortgage, but there was a super block tax. And, I just need a history lesson. I'm sure it was voted on in city council, but can you just give me a history lesson when it was voted on and what that is? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle. So in terms of the city manager search, this has been going on for quite a while, and I haven't seen you here in a while, but basically I think we started out with lots of applications. We did a bunch of interviews. We did some interviews by Skype, and then we got into the budget season, and it was all basically put on hold while we got through the budget season, because that's a very time-consuming thing. And then now we're here.
But I remember the last meeting, I watched it because I was on vacation. It was right before July 4th. And I could have sworn I heard you tell John, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I said, oh my God, did Anthony just say what he said? You said to him, you already know who my choice is. So I'm just trying to understand. I appreciate that you're answering me, but I just want to understand, what is this process? Why are there 5 people and not everybody's been included, or there are some people?
Everybody's been included in everything.
Okay.
Whether we agree or not that's for us behind closed doors. But it just takes 3 people to vote someone in, and that hasn't happened, obviously.
But again, closed doors. You told us just before that nobody gets a right to speak longer than anyone else, that public officials are not put on a higher level. But when you say closed door, that tells me something different.
Well, we do the interview process behind closed doors, right?
I don't think at this point, I can't understand any reason why this process should be closed. I cannot understand that.
There's lots of indications why we also discussed that as a council. So
I just thought we were going to agree to disagree until I die. I will not agree that the city residents do not have a right to know who you're considering and have a say in it. I don't agree with that. I would never agree with that. We're not on another level than that. You voted, you win.
So just on practical level, some applicants who already have jobs don't want their name out there that they're seeking another job. So that's why we usually can't divulge who we're interviewing. It could harm their current employment.
Okay, you could say,
That's why it's always.
you could say person X who has experience doing X, Y, Z, who lives somewhere else, who has 3 kids, but is willing to relocate. I mean, you could give us something. Fair enough? Fair enough? In 7 months, I think something would be better than nothing. But the super lot tax, and again, I'm sorry, I missed it, I missed a vote somewhere.
There's been no super block tax.
I have a tax bill that says super
I'm
block.
sorry, Mr. Marshall, your time is up. Yeah.
Alright, I'll send all taxes.
Yeah. Okay, let me give you just a real 30 seconds. There was a judgment against the city regarding the super block that goes back many, many years. Some owners that had the property taken to a domain said that the money they were paid for the property was less than the property was worth. And then there was litigation for many years over that.
Yes, how did you get on my tax bill? That's what I want to know.
So what happened was when it was finally settled, there was a legal settlement that the city had to pay. I believe it was about $19 million, somewhere around there. And what the city decided to do was have a special assessment that I believe has been the last 10 years. That is going to pay that judgment against the city, and once it's paid off, it comes off of people's bills.
Can you just tell me when was that vote for the special assessment?
That was probably a year or 2 ago, 2 years ago.
It's gotta be about 3 years ago.
So about-
I thought you were talking about the current, situation with the super block, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ludu Battle. Good evening, name and address for the record.
You do that Long Beach, that was something completely different, boardwalk. As you guys must know, I tried the boardwalk in the morning, and last year, I know there's always a problem with the pipe lane and not pipe lane, it can't be painted because of DK. We've been through that many, many times. Solution was brought up last year where we had the signs. There's no signs this year. I spoke to John Bendo about it, I'm sorry. John Morando about it. Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't speak to that. And he said the problem is that at night people are taking the signs and throwing them on the beach and then they have to put them back on the boardwalk. I'm on the boardwalk at 6:30 in the morning. Most of the signs are there, maybe 1 or 2 days, there's 1 or 2 signs that are missing. Not to have the signs that we city paid for, not to have them on there, to me is ridiculous. If it takes, the guys on the beach, 1 or 2 times, you 2 guys to carry them up, they're heavy, put them back on the boardwalk. You need those on the boardwalk. You got a lot of people coming from out of town all the time, they have to be back on the boardwalk. You pay for the signs, use the signs. It may not be the most efficient thing, but it is something. That's what we gotta say.
Thank you.
And as soon as it's done, and it was the 3rd week into July already, they should be on at least by the weekend. There's really something has to be done about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison Blanchett. Name and address for the record.
Allison Blanchett, I just want to follow up on what you were saying as far as the signs on the boardwalk. They are needed, but those ones that we had last year were really terrible. They got in the way of people who were biking. I actually sliced my arm on the edge of one because they are kind of sharp. I was picking one up that fell over and then couldn't straddle my bike and do it, slipped and sliced my arm. Those were not really the best things to do. Obviously, we're not going to be doing painting. I have found you can't have someone out there chalking all the time. The times that I mentioned this before, I've been chalking bike lane signs, and people see that, and I stand back and I listen, and they respond well to it. Do you want that back? This thing? Okay. So there were some Girl Scouts who gave a presentation here a about, you remember that? Yeah. They had a whole list of things, suggestions, and they had some suggestions for the signs as well. So maybe bringing them back in and asking them what they would do instead of those signs that people are throwing off. I had emailed all of you, and I guess I'm not on the naughty list with Nora, because I did get responses from everyone. And the summer beach trolley that has been advertised, usually it's the open air one, and it has its own route that runs seasonally, goes from the station down east, loops down around Broadway to the west end and back. It's been a running joke online from Project 1 to see by the city. Where's the trolley? Who's seen it? Who's seen it? People taking pictures of it. Well, I saw it, and I'm so excited that I left my bike behind, believe it or not, and jumped on it, and was very confused because it went just to the west end and back. And so I talked to a few people in the transportation department, and apparently this bus has not, that route has not been running this summer. We've been advertising it, and it hasn't been running. I stood up here a couple months ago saying we should have trolley signs, because we've never, since we've had that route, we have never had one sign. Oh, no, there might have been one sign. One, that was duct taped up. I might have done it. So, and I actually, truth be told, I was at the station and I discovered the bus there because I was duct taping on the poster sign that said trolley here that I made, because apparently I have no name. So, this route was cut, and I emailed you, and then Monday morning, the bus map was altered online, and it only showed 2 loops. The shopper special wasn't even on the map anymore. And apparently the bus is free now on weekends at River Beach Pass for everyone. And did you guys know this?
15 seconds.
Did you guys know that the bus service was cut? Why was it cut? Can Michael Robinson, the deputy city manager, come up and answer the questions? And on that, why was this decision made? Why weren't you told? Why weren't we notified? Because Todd Kaminsky's office called and got some answers, and one of the answers directly from Michael Robinson is that the city doesn't have any money to put the notifications out.
So your time is up, and we do have Brendan here to talk about it, the changes that were made. I believe now they're just, instead of overlapping each other, it's just basically the trolley runs on weekends. He'll explain it better.
No, he explained it to me on the phone, and
Okay, so let him explain it to the audience, what changes and why.
Right, well, we didn't advertise it this year at all. We, put out a summer.
It's on the website. It's on the website. It's like, it's like everywhere.
We haven't run the route since, September. Basically, in the summer book, we changed it, the map, to show a more, simpler form of what's in these things. Basically, the ridership wasn't there. We had maybe 10 people a day, and the cost was so high to run a special trolley route. So, the main majority of the reason for the trolleys was for the, getaway back to the railroad. That's the original reason why we built that, the trolleys out there. But it's basically the same route as the east and west, and we have the same buses, it's not the same coverage.
Good, I'm sorry, could you just introduce who you are and your title?
Brandon Costello, Director of Transportation. Brandon Costello, Director of Transportation.
Okay, so, thank you, Brendan. All right, so in other words, the open air trolleys only being used in the west.
Majority of the time. And sometimes we can't use it in the West End. If it's extremely hot, like it was 2 weeks ago, we took it off and use the regular trolley. If it's raining, you can't use it either. Late night, we pull it once it gets dark. And
How many closed trolleys do we have?
we have 1 open trolley, we have 2 enclosed trolleys.
2 enclosed, so on the weekends you use.
We use all three.
and you
Rotate
use
all three.
all 3.
And they're
And it's free going east, going west with a beach pass, whether you're a resident or a non-resident.
correct. That's been the same with you.
There's no notification that will cut this service, it's the map that
It's in the
shows
summer
this
book,
route.
and the ambassadors hand out the summer book, and that was the main reason for the trolleys.
Oh my God, it's still up on the website, you're still advertising this. Like,
It's not, the
still-
website was changed the other day.
Do you want me to show you about that?
I've seen the website, I know where the map is.
But it's still free, right? It's still free, it's not the point, it's a free show.
That's not the point, the point is you're not communicating with residents.
I think maybe the best thing to do, I'm just gonna ask that you just review it again, just to ensure that what's on all of the websites and what's being communicated to the public is exactly what is happening. And then you can put out some kind of notification, either on Facebook or through, all sorts of methods, exactly what's going on. Whether people should refer to the summer book, which is very nice and has a great map in it, or we can put it on the website, whatever we should do an analysis to ensure that whatever information is being put out there is the accurate information. So to the extent that it isn't, or I know there were some changes that were made yesterday, or even as early as this morning, if I remember correctly, and I want to thank you. I think that, let's just make sure, whatever it is, that the information that's being provided is the proper information, and it's consistent in all the methods that we do. If there is an inconsistency, we should just point it out and correct it. But thank you for addressing the other issue as quickly as you did. I appreciate it.
Just a quick question. So you said it was canceled because there was lack of ridership.
Well, we didn't continue this year, right, and the routes overlapped and it was just overkill.
Okay, just what was done, like, for example, people getting off the train and things like that? What was done so they would be aware of the existence, and if they went down to the beach or wherever, how would they know where to pick it up?
We have ambassadors at the train station at handheld pamphlets and trying to explain the sources to get around.
No, I understand that, but the maps didn't have the stops on them. So how would somebody, and it's still the case, you know, that the maps don't have the actual stops on them. So how will people know that do want to utilize the bus, where they can get the bus?
Just the color code coordination, right, but I understand what you're saying, you can.
Right. The route will show you where the bus goes, what
The dot's
streets.
taken away.
But how does somebody know it stops at the Bat, it stops at Maryland, it stops at, you know?
Basically, the color coordination of each route and you can drive.
No, that shows where the bus goes.
Right.
It doesn't show where the bus stops, where the bus stops, and there's no bus stop signs in the city that I'm aware of. Well, there may be in some places that I'm not aware of. So again, if we're trying to increase ridership, utilization of the bus, people need to know where they can get it, when it runs, and.
Well, we have the signs out there, but I understand what you're saying. The schedule does need to be updated and we are in the process of changing, making more clear.
Okay. Is there any plan in place to mark bus stops around the city so people know?
This bus stop signs all over the city. They're white signs with red lettering, but they're.
Are we getting a grant?
That's what
I'm saying.
Well, one of the grants projects that I'm getting is solar lighting, actually, that's gonna go on top of the bus stop, so you can identify that.
Okay, so we're gonna hopefully identify the stops so people know where they are.
And the grant also has a couple more shelters, if I remember.
Right, we're gonna redo the bus shelters and have advertising and something like that.
This is up, this is the website right now. This is showing the beach, one that goes down, and the shopper special. This is what people are seeing, and this is why someone like Anthony Beltran from Seabed City waited 40 minutes with his children for something that didn't exist. And like what Mendo said, you can't expect people to take a service if they don't know.
And soon as it was brought to our attention that the wrong map was posted, it was updated within hours. Maybe refreshed because it's up, the new map is updated.
No, this is still there. There are two maps up. There's two.
Okay. I mean, I know
I need
it's
you to
2015
take this a
too.
little more seriously. This is like, you know, a thing.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchett. Tom House, Tom.
Fitzpatrick.
Oh. Thank you. Name and address for the record, sir.
Thomas Fitzpatrick, Laurelton Boulevard, Long Beach, New York. I would like to thank Senator Kaminsky, Legislator Ford, for coming up here and speaking on behalf of the residents, as well as the other people who forcefully spoke on behalf of, I think, the main issue that we're all concerned with, is the lack of a city manager for the last 7.5 months. I think it would be imprudent of myself and a waste of everyone's time if I would repeat all of the well-thought-out, well-presented points by all the previous speakers regarding that subject. I think it's a complete disgrace, and I cannot fathom any concrete or common sense-based reason why this city council has not appointed an independent city manager to run this town in this severe crisis that we are presently in. That's all I have to say. I don't want to be redundant. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Sam Pinto, Long Beach, speaking on behalf of Local 287. A few questions real quick, good evening. Have there been any personnel changes since the last regular council meeting? Any changes to personnel in any way? I know the office was posted. Only the first meeting. Thank you. Okay, so after that, a few things that came up tonight, I wanted maybe a little clarification is, what's the status if the city's doing an internal review, not specifically for the retirements, but for the separation payments of the exempt employees that never actually separated?
That's part of the same review.
All parties, the city hasn't done their own diligence to find out, have these people actually separated, or are they getting a different form of payment?
I'm sorry?
Were they getting separation payments based off leaving, or were they getting?
Separation payments, they were drawing down their time.
They're now being called drawing down the time.
No, I mean, that's what it is. They've approved time, and there's been a practice that folks are able to draw down time based on need. That practice has since stopped while we wait for this review to occur.
Okay, so just for clarification, the people who were told, we were told separated, so we were told separated, and we're given the incentives that others were given upon leaving, who actually did not leave, were not getting separation payments. Most of them, but some got significant payments that were greater than normal, cash or time of need payouts. Is it being, I'm just asking to see, we've done our internal review, seeing if it's been for separation or if they've been all payouts for the people who haven't left. Because I've heard in the past, some people who haven't left receive separation payments.
One person was leaving, yes, and received his payout of all his time, and then decided not to leave. That's correct. That's been public record for a while.
I mean, all the others who did not leave weren't getting separation payments, they were getting pay downs, as you said.
But it's the same money, right? Like, either you're getting everything that's due to you, or you're just getting a few of the hours that are due to you, right?
No. One is that you're getting based off leaving, and one of them you're getting based not.
But it's still the time that you earned as an employee of the city, correct?
No, not
It is.
I don't believe so.
That's my understanding.
Okay, I mean, I would love to find my sick time. I mean,
It's part of the CSEA contract that they were able to do that.
okay, so if they weren't getting separation payouts, is the answer, which is fine, I was told otherwise.
I mean, it's just a nuance of what you're calling it. It's the same pool of money, whether they're cashing in all their vacation time that they've earned, or they're selling back 40 hours.
I think that just for clarification purposes, there were individuals, as we've discussed at length at all of these meetings, who accepted an incentive. When we voted on the bond last meeting, we all received, every one of us received, those individuals had signed off, there was the calculation, there were members of the police department, the fire department, CSEA members who had received that information, that money, the calculations were there, and how they were calculated was there for us. Were individuals who received drawdown, separation pay, whatever you want to call it, who did not separate. I think we've made that abundantly clear. We've all asked, although some members of the council are not, didn't, I don't understand that, but a number of us reached out to the state comptroller's office, we've asked them to conduct an investigation and an audit, and we're waiting for that to be completed. It includes the separation pay, my understanding.
Okay, so people who weren't eligible for actual retirement were still offered separation payments with entire retirement incentives, let's say for some 5 years?
I don't really answer that question. I think it's best if we not discuss hypotheticals.
No, it's not hypothetical.
Wait,
That's what I'm
let me
asking.
just finish. If you have a specific issue, I'm sure we can talk offline if we need to embarrass the individual.
Okay, sounds fair. A few more questions based off of that. I was looking on the civil service meeting notices, on the website, and it's a blank page. Are the civil service meetings minutes public? Can they be made public, similar to the zoning board and council meeting? Because it has to, I mean, just going to the website, looking to see if there's been any personnel changes, would be nice.
If it's public information, there's no reason why it shouldn't be posted.
But if you can, okay, so I'm asking if it can be posted on the city's website, similar to the other minutes that are posted.
I'll look into it, if it can be, if there's any legal obligation not to.
Okay, appreciate that. And last thing, while the city is planning on maintaining and holding on to the comptroller's review and the auditor investigation, whatever it's being called, has a local ethics committee looked into it at all?
No, we went over this last week. The ethics committee's their purview is very narrow.
Sure.
And it's if someone has a financial conflict of interest.
Like a payout for.
And it's,
We've been advised that that's not.
no, like if you own a business in town or something like that, that has a contract with the city.
That's
But as council, Corporation Council, I guess, DC explained last week, or 2 weeks ago now, it's complaint driven. So an email is sent to his office and then it's complaint driven.
Okay, so it's not for things like this then?
No.
Okay.
That's how we've been.
That's what we've been advised.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Everyone, please be home safe.